Hello and welcome once again to the Dr. Zeero Free Magic Secrets Show, where we have a bit of a subdued episode once again for you because it's early in the morning. We can't really have waking up all sorts of people all over the place. But hopefully you will listen to this broadcast in the morning and wake yourself up with headphones on. But there's this book I was reading some stuff from in an earlier video called The Sword and the Serpent, the Twofold Kabbalistic Universe by Denning and Phillips. And it's part of their Magical Philosophy series. This is a very dense book filled with a lot of information about Hermetic Kabbalah and all the little tricks and the little thingamaboobers that a lot of people don't know about. It's a nice little manual of things, but it's written in such a fashion that it's a pretty large text and it really blends together, and you have to read it very carefully and skip around to different parts. And if I were to just read the book to you directly, you'd be fairly lost if you didn't know all the Kabbalistic terminology and what was going on. It's not a beginner book by any means. But there is a nice little section simply talking about magic. And I thought that I would give a little speech on this anyway. So it's on page 420. And so light it up real quick, get in the mood. So la-di-da-deedle-dee, put those headphones on, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, magic. Magic is a wonderful aid in maintaining the ever-changing balance of the psyche. Meditation, study, devotion to the gods, development of the psyche, the making of a magical instrument or of some requisite for the chamber of art, the devising or the spontaneous deed of a ritual to declare one's purpose or one's need, one's exultation or the sheer joy of life, of the day, the night, the season, one's paean to the snake or to the goat. All these things deepen and enrich that inner life which brings true self-awareness. The psyche will find its own time and will take its own route to the goal. But the more intimately united within itself it is, the less danger of false choices or erroneous judgments on major issues. The less danger also of making major issues out of minor ones. For the magician, so far from fleeing from life and from reality, as some critics are fond of suggesting, has in truth mingled his own life with the life and reality of all worlds, has seen the kinship of his own being with the immensities of the stars and with the blind stirrings of amoeba, has held strange communings with dryad and naiad, has raised his soul to the divinity of his worship, and has made his individuality an inwoven part of ritual, dance, or mime. Unchanged in nature is his human heart, but how expanded in understanding and how liberated from former habits of mind. He takes his present-day self seriously indeed, but not tragically, for perhaps he recalls how tragic was the love of one captured as a slave by the Moors, or how ardent was the faith of one who lived as a monk on an island now lost beneath the waters of the Seine. Rose leaves and leaves of bay, these things are faded and vanished, with 1,000 more which for a time filled his heaven, but now are gone. The storm the oak has riven, yet here he himself still is, whole in being and alert in consciousness. But this he knows, whatever else there be, and through whatever checkered worlds he range, he shall go forward until the long day's ending, when, his cycle of evolution completed, he shall return with bliss into his source. With such knowledge, not merely intellectually accepted, but realized as true by the whole psyche, asceticism is not needed to loosen the hold of outer things. The material world can no longer dominate. Although wholly or in detail, it can be loved. There is no loss of personality in this. Now, when selfhood seems like a garment most casually worn, it has reached a new and potent reality. No longer is there a striving for self-expression or a careful maintaining of the equilibrium of the faculties. There is but a natural flowing forth of the individuality. It is of this mystical state that Ficino writes, "At first be careful to be careful, then be careful to be careless. At last be careless even about that." He refers in these words only to the attitude concerning oneself, not to the attitude to externals. In inner matters, the Ruach is centered entirely upon that which is beyond itself. The psyche is ready for its visitant. We have mentioned the recollection of past lives, which frequently takes place to a certain extent in this period of preparation. But there are also many persons for whom no very detailed awareness of such memories is possible until after the descent of the holy guardian angel. No adamantine rules can be made about the sequence of such phenomena, which varies from one individual to another in accordance with many different circumstances. It is, however, certain that after the descent, and consequent upon it, a great expansion of consciousness will be experienced in numerous ways. It is not merely an enlightenment as to past, present, or future events, which is in question here, but far more significantly, it is a direct apprehension of the underlying causes of these things, a clarifying of that intricate linking together of acts and motives which governs both that which the adept is and that which he is to become. For the descent is by no means the end of the evolutionary process. It marks, on the contrary, the beginning of a great acceleration thereof. In the presence of the angel and in the magical works performed with his aid, there is an ever-renewed sense of wonder. The adept walks in a world made new, a world which seems a shrine, especially framed for that presence. It is characterized by a particular sense of release, of holiday, which has nothing whatever to do with the occupation or otherwise of the outer man. The outer self is indeed maybe more occupied and more responsibly occupied than ever before. This is irrelevant to the state of the psyche, or rather of those inner regions of the psyche which now irradiate the whole life. The sense of wonder is inseparable from the experience of the intuitive mind. To consider this fact and the significance of it is in itself a worthwhile reflection for all. Even short of the intuitive mind, there is open to everyone the possibility of contemplating all phenomena encountered in the course of living with the receptive eye of wonder. Mostly we do not do so, or have not done so from childhood. The receptive or truly objective eye having been progressively withdrawn as the affective, emotionally toned, and subjectively tendency supplants it. The adult, in a state of mind compounded of fear and laziness, thinks most usually with mental counters instead of with allusions to reality, and the habit spreads from topic to topic of the mind, until only the hobby, if there is one, is spared as a window upon the universe. In the past decades, a number of writers and visual artists have tried to combat this parching and destroying attitude, to restore the perception of reality to life, by the unfamiliar approach or by the use of peculiar techniques. We are still too close to the movement to evaluate it effectively in brief, but it seems there are three things which must be said of it. There has been an overall stimulating effect, a challenge to rethink and to reevaluate, which has spread like a circular ripple from this movement, and which is in itself productive of much good. The movement itself, however, as distinct from this gentle outward spreading wave, has underestimated the human tendency to shrink away from shock, to reject innovation, or frequently to be quite honestly unable to assimilate it. Much in the movement has thereby failed of its purpose. And thirdly, too few of the participants in the movement, when it comes to the point, have had anything but their own viscera to offer to the multitude. To give more than that, the artist must be also the adept. For the truth still holds that, quote-unquote, every painter paints himself. And in this manner, Also, every writer writes, or musician composes. And how, therefore, can he present a universe who has not a universe? From the descent of the holy guardian angel forward, then, the adept has a universe. That is, although in one sense his psychological motivations continue to spring from the individual, which he is, yet also there is a door open upon another motivation which is without the limitations of time and place. In a very exact sense of the word, he comprehends, but also because the reflective power of the ego consciousness is aware of this comprehension. The personal criteria of values and of proportion insensibly change in adjustment to it. Yet it remains evident that this new comprehension does not destroy the sense of wonder, but quite the reverse. Neither has the adept usually any inhuman sense of immediate access to the treasury of ideas. The Ruach does not seize upon this, and vaunt itself upon the advent of the intuitive mind, because from the beginning it perceives that mind as a being altogether distinct from itself, and also because it glimpses in that mind a vastness of range and scope which verifies that sense of difference. The Ruach has found a leader whose authority it can have no wish to dispute, though the decisions made by the angel are not always those which the ego consciousness would have chosen unaided. On occasion, they may be diametrically opposed to positions which the adept has maintained for years, and momentarily, from force of habit, he thinks to hold back. But the realization comes that the motive for holding to the old position no longer has relevance. The old sanctions do not intrinsically command obedience, but neither now is there any personal need to set them at defiance. Because of the new comprehension, a distinctive attitude of mind tends to manifest itself, subject, of course, to the individual character of the adept, a reviewing of knowledge already familiar, for the sake of the new vistas opened up therein, and for the delight of knowing in reality that which had been known only in token previously. It is in truth as if, in the adult state, and with full consciousness and memory, the adept had entered into a new incarnation. Certain and most true it is, that without that great irradiation of spirit by the intuitive mind, none is fully the adept. Man in himself, that is, without the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel, is totally incapable of attaining to the direct intuitive comprehension of even the least thing. He may form a philosophic estimate or a scientific estimate of the nature of anything which interests him, but ultimately what he knows is not the thing itself, but the concept of it, which he has built up in his own mind. And the discrepancies and false associations involved therein may be numerous. The adept, however, in and through the mind of his genius, begins to know and perceive things as they are. That is not to say that he knows all things suddenly in this way, nor indeed that he knows all things. His human mind and brain are still finite, but it does supremely mean that that which he knows of anything in the intuitive mode is altogether objectively of that thing, and is cleanly free from any effect or personal association or prejudice with which he might previously have endowed it. In the accepted terms of psychology, participation mystique is at an end, or at least is in a rapid decline. Our adept is still a minor adept, and the completion of this release still belongs to the spheres of Tiferet. When it is complete, however, no matter what power he may exercise over external things, they will have none magically over him. After that, and only after that, he will be free to proceed towards his liberation from inward bonds. Just as prior to the treatment of bodily injury, it is frequently necessary to safeguard the patient from potential causes of further harm. The unclouded perception of reality is, however, a sovereign good in itself. In alchemical terms, we see that here the regeneration of red rose, the ruach, and the redemption of white rose, the nephesh, are in this same act achieved. That it is which philosophy dreameth of, but of which philosophy in itself can only dream without means of attainment. Thus far has philosophy accompanied the adept, but from this point he must proceed with magic alone. Even the most perceptive of philosophies can only reason about it and about. For as Plato has indicated, a faculty not human but divine is needed for the apprehension of truth. This, then, is that which is signified by the union of the roses, the red and the white mingling in the golden, whose budding and opening shows forth the unique integration of the personality, the beauty of Tifereth. Adepthood is, from the psychological viewpoint, the vindication of the balanced personality in its entirety. It answers to the whole paradox of man's nature, which must revere and yet be self-sufficing, must be integrated yet must find its expression at many levels. All worlds are composed in man's nature, but only with the descent of the holy guardian angel can he begin with true comprehension to explore them. This presence and this illumination are the boons sought in the hymn to all the gods. Hear me, great lords of freedom. Grant me by knowledge of the holy writings, by dispersal of the night which encircles me, a high and true perception, that I may truly know the incorruptible God and the man that I am. So, that's a little talk. And if you didn't know, what they're talking about with the holy guardian angel is some people literally believe that there's a entity like a holy guardian angel that hovers above you that you unite with. And this is the way forward. And then there's other people who just think the higher self, that higher voice that speaks to you, that's like a reflection of yourself at a higher vibrational frequency, whatnot. That's the thing to unify with. So, just think as you wish. But it is absolutely essential to unite with the higher self and the higher voice, the higher will. It's there. It's your moral compass. It's your ethical compass. It's the one guiding you. And if you're out of touch with it, you best seek it out. So that's all it is for the Dr. Zeero Free Magic Secret Show today. Hope you got something out of that. Do check out The Sword and the Serpent by Denning and Phillips. There will be more episodes in the future. Hit the subscribe button. You know what that is. Let people know I exist, etc. ad infinitum. And, as always, hot rockin' outro just for you. All right, see ya.